Now that you know how to enter formulas, we just want to introduce you to the sum function, which is just a slightly easier way to capture an addition of many cells. So if we've got a little setup like this, we've got a whole bunch of costs, projected cost, actual cost. Based on our formula knowledge, we now know that if we want to see if we over or under budget, we can click on the cell and say equals what was the cell with the actual cost minus the projected cost, and it'll tell us what the difference is. In this case, we may want to do it the other way because this is a bad thing. It's taken too much, so I might say equals projected cost minus actual cost so that it turns negative. So that's relatively easy. I can copy it down, so that's great. But now we want to add these up. So based on our previous examples, I could go like this, equals that plus that plus that. So we can do it like this, which is correct and perfectly valid. But as you can see, it's quite a long formula, and this is actually a small spreadsheet. We could have thousands of cells. So built into Excel is the ability to point at a cell and highlight the entire area. So the function to use here is the sum function. So I'm going to type equals, and if you write the word sum and open bracket, Excel is now waiting for you to point at a number or numbers. What you'll see is instead of me now going manually and clicking at each one, I can click on the first one, hold it, and drag down. And what you'll see is the formula is now saying sum from C9 to C19. So instead of me going manually through each one, I can do that. I'm going to close it, click enter, and you will see we get the same number. So that's just a nice shortcut way of doing it. Now we highly recommend that you don't do any other shortcuts or let Excel do any guesses for you. And what we're referring to here is, although it's useful, you'll see over here we've got a little Autosum function. When I click it, what Excel does is it's gone and guessed for you, and luckily this time it's got it right, and you'll see it's correct. But we're very cautious about people using that because Excel is making some assumptions, and as a result you may not always be 100% confident of what Excel has done, and then you're going to pull your calculator out again. So our suggestion is rather go equals sum open bracket, click on the cell, drag it down. Just be careful, remember you can't drag it all the way down onto your answer cell as well. Close the bracket, click enter, and it gives us our number. Just to do that again, I'm going to come here, we say equals sum open bracket. We explicitly highlight the cells we want to look at, and click enter. Now you may be wondering, why do I keep emphasize that it's a bit dangerous to use what looks like a very useful tool? The reason is Excel has got logic built in. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to go to waste removal. I'm just going to delete it. So there's actually no actual cost, and instead of putting a 0 there, I've actually made the cell blank. If I climb to the cell and I click Autosum, you'll see that Excel has guessed, and because there's a blank here, it doesn't bother to go higher. In this case, it's very obvious to see, and you would hopefully correct that. The problem comes when you're adding up thousands and thousands of rows, and you don't realize there's a blank there. So in a lot of the stuff we do with Excel, we highly recommend that you don't let Excel guess. So you say equals sum open bracket, and you explicitly tell Excel what you want to look at. And this way at least you'll know and feel comfortable that you're definitely adding from here to here. Just going to put that back in so we can get back to the same setup.